The last watch. They say security work is about presence. Show up, wear the uniform, keep your eyes open. Most of the time, nothing happens, and if you're lucky, it stays that way. This job wasn't any different, at least, not at first. I was hired by a law firm, not the company that used to own the building. The company? Gone. Bankrupt. Their names scraped off the sign out front like they were never there. Now, everything left behind, the hardware, the data, the infrastructure, belonged to the lawyers, or the banks, or whoever wins in the end when a company dies. My job was simple. Watch the place overnight. Don't let anything disappear before it's accounted for. The building sat out in the countryside. A glass and concrete box dropped in the middle of 20 acres of wheat fields. No neighbors, no traffic, no streetlights, just me, a flashlight, and a clipboard full of things I was supposed to check every hour. It was summer, warm nights, 20 degrees Celsius, maybe a little less toward morning, only dark between midnight and 4. The rest of the night hung in that weird twilight where it feels like the world's holding its breath. You could hear everything out there. Wind through the crops, the faint hum of turbines turning, sometimes a dog barking a mile away. But inside? Inside it was dead quiet. The first time I stepped through the front doors, the air smelled like paper and metal and burnt coffee. The lobby was gutted, dried out potted plants, a reception desk with no chair, a busted vending machine blinking like it was still waiting for someone to make a choice. A row of monitors on the security desk showed static. The cameras had been disconnected when the IT team left. I was the only one watching now. They told me it'd be quiet. They weren't wrong. But quiet doesn't mean safe. It just means when something does happen, you hear it. The first few nights were uneventful. I walked the halls, checked the doors, logged my rounds, midnight and 3 a.m., every shift the same. I took my time, moved quiet, made sure each room looked just like it did when I found it. There were 5 main zones I had to check. Server room, prototype lab, equipment storage, upstairs offices, and the break room. Each had its own smell, its own temperature. The server room was colder. You could still hear the fans running. The lab smelled like glue and burnt plastic. The upstairs offices? Dusty, claustrophobic. A few whiteboards with half-erased notes left behind like the end of a bad dream. You start to build a rhythm when you walk alone every night. You memorize the creaks in the floor, the way light falls across the glass. You count ceiling tiles and flickering bulbs. You start thinking in steps, in angles, in sounds. And eventually, you stop thinking about anything at all. But around night 4, things started to feel off. It wasn't anything I could point to. Just a sense, like someone else had just been in the room a moment before me. A faint warmth in the air, a chair that wasn't quite pushed in. I told myself it was nothing, airflow, settling, the mind playing games in silence. Still, I started writing it down. 047, faint clatter in break room. Investigated, nothing found. 132, door to conference 2 open 3 inches. Closed it, logged as unexplained. 208, footsteps? Possible echo in prototype hallway. No visual confirmation. I didn't hear back from the law firm. I wasn't expecting to. My job was to show up and log the strange things I didn't find. Night 5, something new. A desk lamp was on in the north hallway, upstairs. It wasn't on when I checked 30 minutes before. It flickered like a bad connection, then burned steady. I turned it off, logged it. Light found on in secured office. No known reason. Possibly electrical. I stood in that hallway for a while afterward, just listening. But the silence didn't give anything back. That's when I started carrying my flashlight everywhere, even when I wasn't supposed to need it, even when all the emergency lights were working just fine. The flashlight made me feel real, solid, present. Without it, I wasn't so sure. It was the 7th night. I remember that clearly, because I'd started to feel like the place was testing me, like the quiet had patterns, and I was starting to learn them. But that night, the rhythm changed. It was 1:06 a.m. I had just finished my second round, sat down in the break room, still had a half-warm soda and a notebook full of scratch marks. That's when I heard a low thunk, not from inside. From outside, back by the loading bay. I stood up, walked over to the narrow window by the supply corridor, and there it was. A white van, backed up to the rear doors. No markings, no lights, no sound. It wasn't there before. I didn't rush, didn't grab a weapon, just the flashlight, my radio, my voice. I slipped down the east hallway, staying in the shadows. The door to the loading bay was ajar. And inside, clear as day, were 2 men. No masks, no gloves. One was wearing jeans and a hoodie. The other? A company polo. Logo faded, but visible. Bold as brass. They had a dolly half loaded with equipment cases, old server racks, a few monitors, a power strip still dangling from a crate. They didn't hear me until I was 5 feet away. "Evening," I said. They froze. One dropped the ratchet strap he was holding. I didn't draw attention to the radio in my left hand. I clicked it on and said clearly, "Possible break-in. 2 individuals, loading bay. Send police." I kept my tone even. "No panic. I've dealt with worse." One guy, the younger one, tried to stammer something about having clearance, said they were just cleaning out leftovers. I didn't answer. I just stood there. It was the longest 3 minutes of my life. The police came quick. Small town. Not much else going on at that hour. They put both men in cuffs. No resistance. Didn't find weapons. Didn't find paperwork either. The one in the polo kept saying, "We were told this was okay. We had access last time. Call Dennis." Dennis. No last name. No badge. Just a first name and a lie. I gave my statement. The officers nodded. One of them actually patted me on the shoulder. Good eye. Most guys would have missed that. I didn't feel proud. I felt confused. Something about the whole thing was too clean, too easy. They weren't panicked. They weren't even in a hurry, like they knew exactly how much time they had, and that someone else was supposed to be watching something else. I stood in the hallway after they were gone. Lights humming overhead, dolly track still on the floor. One of the crates was still there, half emptied. I looked at it, and I remember thinking, what if they weren't the only ones here tonight? The next morning, the lawyers showed up. Not a word of warning. Just 3 of them in dark suits and car park dust still on their shoes. They went straight to the server room. Didn't say hello. Didn't ask for my notes. They already knew something. They had a checklist of their own. Not the printed one they gave me. This was different. Tighter. Handwritten. No room for interpretation. I watched them from the break room as they went room to room. One had a phone to his ear the whole time, nodding, not talking. Around 9:15 a.m., one of them, the younger one, sharp haircut, too clean, approached me. He asked if I saw the suspects go near the prototype lab. I told him no, they were in the rear storage area the entire time, never left my sight. He didn't look surprised, he just wrote it down, thanked me, and walked away. An hour later, they gathered in the old conference room. Shut the blinds, shut the door. I sat out front, waiting like a dog under the dinner table. And then they called me in. Something's missing, they said. Not a crate, not a server, a sealed data container, steel case, size of a shoebox. Supposedly stored in a secured cabinet in the prototype lab. Not something the average employee would even know existed. I told them again, the suspects never touched the lab. They didn't even try to. I said it clearly, slowly, professionally. They thanked me for the clarification, said I did exactly what was expected. And then they handed me a termination notice. No accusation, no blame, just a contract closure and a check that covered exactly my hours. Nothing more, nothing less. Thank you for your service. We'll handle things from here. That was it. I sat in my car for nearly 20 minutes after I left. Didn't start the engine, just sat there. Something gnawed at me. I kept running it over in my head. If the break-in was a diversion, if they never touched the lab, then someone else had to. And whoever took that steel case, they had keys. They knew the shift schedule. They knew the layout. They knew I'd be focused on the wrong place at the right time. I wasn't the one guarding the building. I was the excuse for looking the other way. I waited 2 nights. Told myself I was letting it go, that it wasn't my concern anymore, but I didn't sleep much, didn't go out, just sat with the same thoughts circling like flies in a warm room. On the 3rd night, I went back. I knew the side window near the accounting offices didn't lock properly. I slipped in just past 1 a.m. Flashlight off. No gear, no logbook. Just me in the building, like it always had been. It was strange how fast it all came back, the path of the hallways, the rhythm of the floor tiles under my boots, the way the emergency lights buzzed at the exact same frequency they had a week before. Nothing had changed, that was the worst part. I walked past the prototype lab. Paused. And that's when I saw it. A maintenance closet. Door cracked open just enough to catch your eye, if you were looking. I'd walked past it a dozen times before, but this time, I noticed the smell, metal and dust, fresh dust. I stepped inside. The shelves were mostly bare, old cans of paint, a fire extinguisher so expired it was practically decoration. But right there, in the center of the middle shelf, was something else. An absence. A clean, rectangular patch, about the size of a shoebox. No dust, no markings, just space where something was, and now wasn't. That was it. No labels, no trail, no camera feed, just that blank spot, surrounded by layers of still air. I stared at it for a long time. Because that space told me everything. The case had never been in the server room, never in the storage area. It had been right there, waiting, and someone with access, timing, and confidence, had come and taken it before the fake thieves even rolled in. I was never guarding anything. I was occupying the narrative. I never told anyone what I figured out. Not the police, not the lawyers, not even the next guy who took the shift after me, if there ever was one. What was the point? They already got what they came for. The files, the case, the distraction. Now? Now I sit on the balcony of a nameless rental in a town I never unpacked for. There's no furniture except a mattress on the floor and a chipped coffee table. A bottle of rum that tastes like plastic. Store-brand cola going flat in the fridge. I light one cigarette at a time. Watch the night roll in like it's got teeth. Every once in a while, I catch myself thinking. Maybe if I'd checked that closet earlier. Maybe if I'd pushed the lawyers harder. Maybe if I'd asked the guy in the polo shirt what he was really after. But it's bullshit. They had already decided how the story was going to end, and I played my part perfectly. Now I don't check my email, I don't answer blocked numbers. My resume's in a drawer somewhere, stained with water rings. I've stopped listing references. Because when people ask me what happened at the job, what can I say? I was the guy standing watch while someone else made the real move. I'm not angry, not anymore. Just tired, just done. They got what they wanted, and I got what people like me always get. Disgraced, forgotten, burned out. But I still remember that building. Every step I walked, every log I filled out that no one read, every sound I heard that didn't make sense until it was too late. And sometimes, when the wind's quiet and the drink hits just right, I wonder if someone else is out there tonight. Another uniform, another flashlight, another lie. And I wonder, what are they missing? Thanks for listening. Please do subscribe.